Hello and welcome to Young Valley Leaders, WDIY's newest monthly show featuring the upcoming movers and shakers in your backyard and making it happen for themselves in our community. I'm your host, Lewis Holzman, and today I'm here with Maggie Walters.
Hey, Lewis. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. A Valley native, Maggie, you hail from Bethlehem. You found yourself then in Philly for college, and then you returned here to the Valley to start your professional career, jumping right into the heart of our community's business, nonprofit, government, and economic engines, working with the Chamber of Commerce, leading the Allentown Chamber of Commerce. And since then, this year, you found yourself in a new role as Director of Community Relations for the United Way. Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for taking the time to come onto the show, and happy to have you.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.
So really kind of digging in right off the jump here, you went to Philly and you came back. There's obviously lots of opportunities down in Philly. Why did you decide to move back to the area?
That's a great question, and not to take the easy way out, but it was the pandemic. I graduated, it was my senior year in March of 2020, and we were all sent home from Temple University, unfortunately. But it gave me a different opportunity that I never expected before, because I really found that the tight-knit community in the Lehigh Valley was perfectly positioned for me professionally and personally to achieve my career goals, which I'm really happy with where I'm at right now.
And we're definitely going to dive into that a little bit, or a lot of it, I guess, as we start to go through here. So let's start there. I mean, what drove you to thinking of your career goals to be so involved with the community, community-based organizations, nonprofits, start with the Chamber, now obviously with United Way, two totally different missions, but still very ingrained in the community. So maybe you could talk about what led you to that direction?
Yeah, totally. So I think it happened a little bit organically, and also through my passions, which I would argue is natural and organic as well. Starting off at the Chamber, I always knew that I wanted a role that I would be talking to people all the time and talking to different business owners and helping people. So that was like the first role that I had, that I really felt that I was getting to know people on a deeper level, engaging them, and, being a convener and a collaborator, which I love to do. And then that led me to where I am now with United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, which dives a little bit deeper into philanthropic work that I feel so passionate about every day, going to work and being able to know that I'm a part of the larger solution to help people in the Greater Lehigh Valley means so much to me, and it keeps me really, really driven.
So both the Chamber and United Way are like bigger brands, if you will, like national entities, but we're talking about the local chapters,
right?
Or here, what is United Way? Probably people have heard of United Way, but what is it?
Right. Yeah, so that's exactly right. United Way, the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley is is a local chapter of a national organization. So we are members of United Way worldwide. But United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley is a fundraising organization, and we identify the community's greatest needs and challenges, and we create lasting, measurable results by investing in solutions in education, healthy aging, and community stability. So not only do we do all this fundraising and invest it back in the community, but we also have the data to back it up. And that is something that I'm so passionate about and that I love about my role. So again, we do a campaign every year where we fundraise the most of our money. And that's when we typically have a campaign chair who leads us. This year, it was just recently announced that it's Chris Martin and Martin Guitar.
I did see that.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting. There's going to be a lot of fun surprises there as well. Some, musical themed things, but
of course.
Of course. So there's a lot of excitement there, but the reality is we try to do the greatest good with our funds. So to help people in Lehigh, Northampton, and Carbon County.
And so you mentioned in that about your role. So Director of Community Relations, right?
Yep.
So what is that role? I mean, I can put together what a director is, what community relations is, but what does that mean within United Way and with what you do day to day?
Totally. I work very closely with the CEO and the CEO's office. So Marcy Lesko is the CEO of United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley. And so we work really closely to supercharge engagement among our volunteers, government officials, and community as a whole. So specifically, I work with our board of directors, who are, our incredible volunteers who help lead our strategic priorities. I also engage our government officials so that they know what we're doing and they can help advocate and lobby for us. And then I'm a special assistant to the CEO. So special projects, events, staff engagement, volunteer engagement, events.
Sheesh. Sounds legit.
Yeah.
You're not busy at all, are you?
No, not at all.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time here to spend with us out of your day. You mentioned some projects, I guess a lot of different projects that you have your hands in. Anything that you're working on either right now or maybe that's upcoming that you're just like super excited about and can share with us?
Yeah, I would love to. So one thing that I thought specifically would be really relevant to this podcast and our conversation today was our Emerging Leaders Program, which is a group of young professionals that through joining Emerging Leaders have a direct hand in a lot of volunteer opportunities, networking opportunities, which we know there's a ton of networking opportunities for young professionals, like with Allentown Young Professionals and the Young Professionals Council of the Chamber, but specifically with Emerging Leaders, which, any emerging leader can get involved in. This is really a specific focus on volunteer engagement and giving back. So we just hosted an event at Seven Sirens in Easton where we had the Emerging Leaders do some volunteering then and put together these joy baskets. But I'm really excited for the future of Emerging Leaders because I think there's such opportunity there, and our staff is really dedicated in amping up that group and making it really strong. So I'm excited to see how that happens.
So let's talk about the Emerging Leaders a little bit further. Like, how does one get involved with it or even find out about it? Like, how are you getting in front of those emerging leaders and bringing them forward? And then what do you do once you're there?
I would say just through networking and attending events and also following us on social media and joining our e-newsletters. So if you would like to join our e-newsletter, feel free to reach out to me or anybody at United Way, which you can find all of our emails and our contact information on our website. But I would say follow us on social media, which you can find pretty easily, and that will let you see all of our events coming up for Emerging Leaders and more information if you want to find out more.
Cool. Yeah. So lots of irons in the fire for not only just projects, but definitely a handful of different pillars of the community between, I think I heard government officials, definitely heard business leaders, young emerging leaders. And so, really, really active here in the Valley to help not only push some of their initiatives forward, but also the greater fundraising efforts for the causes that they care about. Is that fair to say?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you're here now, but how did we get here? When you think about your background, you mentioned Temple a little bit, education, journey, career path, how'd you start to forge that way, whether it was at university or maybe it was before that, still in high school? What got you to here?
That's a great question. And kind of how I mentioned before, I think it happened a little bit organically just through my passions and what I care about, which is, community, philanthropy, volunteering, helping people. But I've always been pretty driven. I got my degree from Temple University in international business and marketing. But even through that, I was finding ways to insert my passions in there. So I was director of philanthropy for our business association, the International Business Association. In high school, I was always a part of SAD and Cops for Kids, those types of organizations. So I feel like it's always been woven in throughout my path. And I've also had some really incredible mentors that have helped me lead my way in my career. So I think that's something really important for young professionals, especially if they're looking to maybe change it up or find their way in their career. Tapping the shoulder of somebody else and asking to get a cup of coffee and picking their brain can help you a lot.
Yeah, that's critical. I know I could say the same thing for mentors for me and to where I've gotten to, but can you dig in on that a little bit? How do you find those individuals? It's one thing knowing them and being like, hey, can we go get some coffee? It's another thing maybe not even knowing where to turn and find someone that either has a shared interest or is where you are, but 20, 30 years down the line. How'd you go about finding those net mentors and putting yourself out there?
Again, I would say attending events is really crucial in the Lehigh Valley, and it's perfect though because there are so many.
Definitely.
So I would say attending one and just getting to know somebody better. So asking them what made them come out tonight, and maybe something will click there, and then a deeper conversation or a deeper relationship might forge from that. It's not always going to happen, but just keep trying, and keeping yourself open is the most important part.
Yeah, keeping yourself open to opportunities, and at the end of the day, like putting yourself out there.
Right.
Jumping in the pool and not being afraid of whether it's someone saying no or you being the only one in the room that you only know is yourself, and shaking some hands.
Right.
I know you've been out there to do that through your career, and that's certainly how I did it as well. So,
definitely.
Any advice for those looking to get into, whether it's a nonprofit sector, community-based organizations, maybe it's business, maybe it's government? You're kind of tied throughout a lot of those. It could also be for people that are maybe in those fields but are just feeling a little bit stuck or not sure how to advance their career. How do they take it to the next level?
I would say, again, try to find what you're interested in and join maybe a committee, or try to join a board. A committee might be the first step, because that's how you really start to build your professional network and start to bring skills to the table that you're good at. So find an organization or a nonprofit that you're interested in and see if there are any committee openings. And I think that can really, really enhance opportunities, professional networks, and help grow your skills.
So you're talking about professional networks, growing skills, being involved. You're obviously very involved from a day-to-day within your job standpoint, but I also know you're very active in the community with different volunteers, boards, commissions, committees. What other organizations or causes are near and dear to you?
Thanks for asking, because there are a couple that really mean a lot to me. So first, the Judith Adele Agentis Charitable Foundation. It's a 501c3 that helps families who are visiting loved ones in hospice get fresh meals, something other than a vending machine.
Sure.
I could talk a lot of detail on that, but that's something that I'm on the...
But not to interrupt, but you mean families like not the person in hospice, but the people that are actually visiting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that are visiting their loved ones, and especially over the holidays when they might be there on Thanksgiving or Christmas, something like that. So they'll get delivered meals. So I'm on the planning committee for our annual fundraising gala. So that is something really near and dear to my heart. I'm also on the planning committee for Bloom for Women, their annual golf outing.
Okay.
I've been on that for a couple years and love it too.
What is it? What is Bloom for Women, for those that don't know?
Bloom for Women is an organization that helps women that have been sex trafficked who are getting out of sex trafficking.
Seems pretty important.
Yeah, extremely important. So that, and then I just recently joined the board for the Nonprofit and Business Partners Council for the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
It's almost like a pseudo full circle in a way.
I know. I was like, wow, this couldn't be more perfect.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And we're going to dig a lot more into some of those passions as well, some other opportunities that are here for young professionals here in the Lehigh Valley after we take a quick short break. My name is Louis Holzman. I'm here with Maggie Walters on Young Valley Leaders, and we'll be back soon. All right, and we're back. I'm Louis Holzman here with Young Valley Leaders, here with Maggie Walters, and really looking forward to digging into the second segment here. We were talking a little bit about philanthropy. We were talking about United Way. We were talking about emerging leaders, talking about events and putting yourself out there and really making the most of the opportunities that you kind of make for yourself by the people that you may rub some shoulders with. So looking forward to digging into that a little bit more. But first and foremost, Maggie, you're super involved between your work with United Way. You've listed at least 3 different nonprofits that you're on committees and commissions and boards with. How do you balance everything between just going to all these different events that you have to from a work standpoint, but also fun, family, play? It definitely is a lot on your plate. So how do you keep that all organized?
That's a great question. But I think I've found some things that I love, and also some little tricks and tools that I love. So, for example, I know that when I exercise or go to yoga class, which I adore, that really helps with my mental health, and it gives me time for myself. I always make time for family and friends. That's really easy. I'm never too tired to hang out with them because I love them so much, and it's also another amazing way to unwind. But I'm also just very patient with myself, and I'm not super hard on myself. So if it's the end of the workday and I'm like, I totally need a nap, that's what I'm going to do because that's what my body's calling for. So I try not to be too hard on myself and overthink too much and, just so I don't burn out. So
yeah, burnout is real. And I think
Yep.
that's something that like our generation kind of faces because they're feeling like burnout from a lot of these different components. They feel like they have to work so hard in pushing their career forward, but then also like want to get home and just like not do anything sometimes. But then you are sitting there and like, oh, I should really be doing something.
Right.
So trying to balance that can be a challenge. And so you mentioned, I think yoga, you said, right?
Yeah.
Do you find that in a time where you can pull back and totally be like mindful with yourself allows for new opportunities and ideas to like flow in that then helps you push further, almost like one of those take 2 steps back in order to get 5 steps ahead type of situation?
Yes, I do, especially when I go to yoga classes at the Hot Yoga Hut.
Shout out Hot Yoga Hut.
Yep, plug the Hot Yoga Hut. There are no phones allowed in the hot room, so that is definitely a time where you are completely unplugged, and plus you're just getting like fresh oxygen and blood in your body, so that sparks. I'm not a scientist and I know nothing about science, but it definitely helps with chemicals in your brain and new ideas, because by the end of the class, I get out there and I'm like in my car before I drive, of course, and I'm like writing down these ideas that I had that maybe were just like, oh, send an email to somebody I thought of or like whatever, but definitely helps you spark new ideas, exercise.
Isn't that kind of wild? Like you might be like in your like working in your day to day and completing your task and doing what you have to do, but then when you pull yourself back, whether it's at yoga, whether it's on a walk, whether it's in the shower, whatever it might be, all of a sudden you start flooding these ideas. Like I know sometimes for me, it's like at night before I go to bed and I like have a notepad by my desk or by my bedside so I can just be like, oh crap, so I don't forget that.
Jerry Seinfeld does that. Like in Seinfeld, he writes down jokes that he thinks about at night or like when he's dreaming.
It just happens, right? It almost is like a lucid dream sometimes. So, but you need to be able to create that space for yourself, but also have a way to capture, whether it's in your car right after the fact, or because some of those are the best ideas. But then if you continue on your day and don't write them down, the ideas, they flow and then they go. So
right. I've also sometimes looked back and been like, that's actually not as great as an idea as I might have thought. I don't know if that ever happens to you.
It does, for sure.
Yeah.
Not every single idea is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but you know, at least you're having the ideas though.
Right.
It's
what counts.
It's the synapses connecting in the brain on a consistent basis that really does count.
Yep.
So thinking about a little bit deeper from like a value standpoint, you're dealing with so many different types of people, different types of personalities, different sizes of business, different influencers, different government officials. Can you talk about any like core values, principles that you not only live by, but also bring into work that you can attribute your success to?
Yes, I can. And it's something I learned maybe 2 years ago that I go by day to day, hour to hour. It's assume positive intent. Because like you said, I am dealing with so many different personalities and people and groups and comments and emails and stuff, but I always just try to assume positive intent as like the first thing. And that makes you not overthink an email that you think maybe had a weird tone, or overthink a conversation that you had with somebody or an interaction with somebody. Whenever I assume positive intent, I just feel so much better, because at the end of the day, 99% of the time, it's a positive interaction or it's a positive email. It's just those thoughts in your head that maybe think that something was, negative. But that's what helps me deal with so many different voices and emails and people and
No, that's a great point. I mean, especially in the digital age where there's so much done that isn't necessarily face-to-face or over the phone communication. So much gets lost in translation within text sometimes, and whether it's a tone or whether it's, a shorthand, like you're like, is that what this person's really trying to say to me right now?
Right.
And so if you come off with that, with an idea of like, maybe it is, but I'm going to put that in the back of my mind and, move this forward because we have a shared common goal that we're trying to achieve here.
Exactly.
Maybe they're just having a bad day.
Yep.
Maybe they just had 30 seconds to type something out and it just came off a little weird.
Right.
So that's a really, really great thing to hold. Outside of work, though, how does that translate into like friendships and, maybe family too. Hopefully that's pretty tight. But like, how does that same type of mindset work throughout the other relationships within your life?
That's a great question, and I've never actually really thought about that. I think because a lot of my friendships, I already know to the core that they're super genuine and positive. But even then, like, we're all so busy, so sometimes a text could seem rushed and like, ooh, I don't know if you meant that. But I try not to overthink my friendships because a lot of them are really great. But
just the idea of having friendships is having great people around
They're
you.
They're not enemies.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a little strange if you said all my friends are my enemies. Although, hey, keep your enemies close, right? Isn't that what they say? Yeah. So with moving that forward here, let's change the topic a little bit. There is so much to do here in the Lehigh Valley. You kind of alluded to it earlier with a lot of different events. We have 3 really thriving downtowns that, as we were growing up, we're certainly not thriving in the ways that they are thriving today across the board, let alone the suburbs and the rural communities that are here and have a lot of different events themselves. So when you're not working or not involved with an event with some of the organizations you're involved with, what are you doing? What do you like to do for fun? Are there any best kept secrets or hidden gems here in the Valley that people should know about?
Yeah, definitely. I love to walk around like farmers markets, like the Easton Farmers Market on the weekends, or there's one at
It's a big market.
Yes, I know. It's amazing.
I didn't even realize
it. It has everything.
Yeah. If you haven't been there, Easton Farmers Market, where it's like is it Larry Holmes Drive, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I love to walk around downtown Bethlehem. I live around downtown Bethlehem, so I love to take time and walk around.
Which downtown? There's like 2 downtowns in Bethlehem.
That's true. North Side,
reppin'.
Main Street, yep. Main Street, get a coffee and just stroll around. I like to people watch, or house watch. Historic downtown Bethlehem has beautiful houses. So I do a lot of that. I also think there's like so many fun breweries around the Lehigh Valley that I like to visit, the new ones that pop up. And then if there's ever any festivals going on, I definitely will hit those up, especially Music Fest coming up is on my radar 100%.
Any acts at Music Fest that you're looking forward to seeing, or just like the whole event in itself?
Whole event in itself. I love to stroll around and just go to different tents and see which acts are playing, but I'll probably go to Old Dominion for one of like the paid concerts.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. What day is that, do you know?
Tuesday, August 6th.
Tuesday,
yes, I know.
August 6th. I know, it's okay. Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you happen to be under a rock, Music Fest is about 1 million people that it attracts here to the Lehigh Valley. And it's been, it's the 40th year, 50th year. It's been going on for a good little bit and has got bigger and bigger to the point where it is now the largest outdoor festival in the country. Actually,
free music
festival, over a 10-day span. So again, if you're still under a rock, it's something that you can come check out August 3rd to the 11th, something along those lines, and it's free, so definitely can come enjoy that. You mentioned walking around the downtowns and people watching and house watching,
or I guess house looking. I don't know. That sounds creepy.
Yeah,
now.
She's not a peeping Tom, I promise. But where do you go? You mentioned coffee shops. Best coffee in the Valley. Go.
I like La Vida Cafe in Allentown, but that didn't just help the fact that I said I normally get coffee around downtown Bethlehem.
That's okay.
So I like
good.
Biddy and Bo's and The Joint.
Nice. No, those are 2 really great spots. And I think Biddy and Bo's is fairly new, but The Joint has been there for a hot minute. So if you haven't been to those spots, definitely go check them out. Breweries. You also mentioned that. Any faves?
My recent new favorite is Wishful Thinking Brewery. It's new, actually right around the corner here.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's on Broadway going up towards Fountain Hill.
Okay.
It's in what used to be the Bavarian Tavern, which hasn't been open for...
Like ever?
Ever.
Like the thing with the like that had the wooden... thing, like it's right on the corner?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wishful
Thinking Brewery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen that building in operation in my life.
It's in operation, and it's slinging great beers.
Slinging beers.
And they have Detroit-style pizza, which is really fun.
Is that like some level of deep dish? Or?
Yeah, but it doesn't come in a dish, but it's square and has a thicker crust. And they do a lot of fun, like, specialty ones. So one time they had it with, like, sauerkraut and kibasi for any of the Pennsylvania Dutch folks out there.
For sure.
Or Polish. Or
it fits.
Yeah,
it fits. And Maggie, I'm sure if you're anything like me, when you're out in the community at all of these different places, you inevitably run into at least one person, if not multiple, when you're out just by accident, frankly. How does that work, or how does that make you feel? I don't know if that's exactly the question I'm trying to ask, but like, is that just like an expectation you have now when you go out, you're probably going to see people you know?
Just last week when I was at Wishful Thinking Brewery, I saw, I'll just name drop him, Alex Knaus from Capital Blue Cross, and he's on YPC too for the Chamber Young Professionals Council.
Nice.
I love seeing people who are in the professional network out because it like gives them that human element that I think we all need to remember that we all have. And I think that could go back to the points we were making earlier when we were talking about trying to get out of your comfort zone and attend events and, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's because we're all human. So obviously we all do stuff on the weekend, and a lot of us have similar stuff that we like to do.
I love it, Maggie. That is a really great point to bring up because there's so much of us that get wrapped up in our professional lives and only look through that one lens, and then when you see someone out in the wild, oh my God, it's like, no, we're just humans enjoying our evening, enjoying our weekend. So that's really cool. And so kind of taking it back from a leadership standpoint and being a young leader yourself here in the Valley, what does being a young leader in the Valley mean to you?
That's a great question. So not only do I feel like it means, leading the path and helping people find their way, but it also, I really think about carving the path for more people in our network who are young professionals and then people who are growing up around here. I think the young professional network and just the workforce in Lehigh Valley is becoming so robust, and there's so many opportunities for all of us to get involved because we will be leading the Valley in the next 10, 15 years. So not only, again, being involved right now, but creating that path for other people. And so I really love one of the affinity groups that United Way has, and that's our Teen Works program, which is strongly backed by the labor unions. And
you say teen or team?
Teen.
Teen, okay.
Teen Works. So this empowers community-minded student leaders to make a difference through community service projects and entrepreneurial projects. So that is something that is really cool and just wanted to tell the listeners about.
Yeah, no, thank you for plugging that. And we also have a teen-driven and based show here at WDIY that if they're not familiar, I'm sure would love to chat with you a little bit more because it's all about really emerging teens and them getting more involved with the community and being able to help push themselves forward. So definitely something to kind of plug, but also be aware of. So Maggie, how can people find you, follow you, or get in touch? And it could be you, it could be United Way, it could be any other organizations you've talked about.
Yeah, I would love if people connected with me on LinkedIn, and if you even want to meet, get lunch or coffee or anything, feel free to message me, and then we could exchange emails or numbers. I love meeting new people and getting to know people. So LinkedIn, my name is Maggie Walters on there too. And if you want to learn more about anything I spoke about, you can go to United Way's website or follow us on social media, and that way you can stay up to date with everything that we have going on.
And is that social media the same social media for the United Way on a national level, or is it United Way Greater Lehigh Valley?
United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah. So before we wrap up here, any advice, final comments, or words of strength and encouragement for our upcoming leaders that are listening in?
Yeah, I'll just bring it full circle. I would say, like Lewis and I talked about, put yourself out there and get to know somebody new. You can maybe make that a goal by the end of the summer is, attend a networking event or a young professional event, and also assume positive intent with all of your interactions because that will keep your opportunities open, it'll keep doors open for you, and it'll keep you high-spirited.
High-spirited, positive intent, getting yourself out there, knocking on the doors and saying hello when they open. Love it, Maggie. That does it here for episode 6. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today. Really, really excited to hear about your next chapter here in your professional career, but also what the United Way and some of these organizations have been able to do for our community. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, and thanks to your team, and thanks to WDIY. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here, too. You can find this show airing live monthly on WDIY 88.1 FM on the second Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. and forever streaming on all other episodes on WDIY.org, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and WDIY's YouTube and social media channels. Lastly, here, a big shout out to some people making this program possible. Lauren Matthews with an awesome logo for the Young Valley Leader brand. Matt Cajun, live and in studio with us today, behind the camera, making this interview come to life on screen. Thank you very, very much. James, Seamus, and all the good folks at WDIY for giving the time and space to bring this show alive and supporting efforts to disseminate across the website, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and social media. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a special one. We're about halfway through the year here at episode 6 as we start this new show. So thanks, y'all, for tuning in. Again, I'm Lewis Holzman, your host of Young Valley Leaders on WDIY 88.1 Lehigh Valley Public Radio. Thanks for tuning in, and until next month.